Hi. Before going to video, please subscribe to my channel for more interesting stuff. And the question is, people of Reddit, what are your scariest ghost/supernatural encounters? My BF and I were helping his dad go through his many belongings. In the basement, there was a vintage mirror that I fell in love with. His dad didn't want it, so my BF and I took it home. It was a full-body, flippable mirror. His dad had no idea where it came from. I set it up near the wardrobe in our bedroom. We both had nightmares the first night having it. When we awoke in the morning, one of the wardrobe doors was wide open. This was unusual because I always ensure to close the wardrobe up before bed because it made me uncomfortable having it open. This kept happening every day and my BF and I were equally confused and were starting to get a bit spooked. The nightmares continued as well. My nightmares were so violent and terrifying that I'd be woken up from the fear. Every single time I woke up, I'd be facing the mirror. We started flipping it before bed so that it faced the wall. We'd wake up with the mirror flipped back around, facing us. One night I woke up from a nightmare, facing the mirror. I turned over to face my BF and he was sitting upright on the end of the bed. I asked him what he was doing. As I awaited a response, I sat myself up and accidentally put my hand down on his arm. He was lying in bed next to me, fast asleep. Something was sitting at the end of the bed that looked exactly like him. I watched, frozen in fear as it stood up. It slowly walked from the end of the bed to the wardrobe and vanished before my eyes. I finally regained control and shook my BF awake. We both agreed to get rid of the mirror. We took it outdoors the next afternoon, broke it apart, and burned it in the fire pit. We went to bed that night and had peaceful sleeps. We woke up to a closed wardrobe as well. As a kid I would be sleeping with my body facing the wall, but wake up and feel like something's watching me. I turn around and there's a shadowy figure. It bolts to my closet in a hurry. I scream, but not too loud but enough to where people will hear me. I shared a room with my grandma at the time. She wakes up and I tell her what I saw. She didn't really believe me. These incidents happened a lot. Another time my mom made me go to bed forcefully by shoving me into my room. I just stood there in darkness. I was already scared of the dark. That's when I heard evil snickering from my closet. It freaked me the hell out. I know where everyone in my house was at the time. So it couldn't have been any of them. My sister saw a black figure at our old house at 5 a.m. and the thing just stopped, stared at her, and left. Same house I saw a black shadow coming down from our attic in work boots, thought it was my dad, and for some reason I could see the thing's face despite being bright. It was just pure black shadow and messed up swampy work boots coming down the stairs. It was terrifying. Could have sworn it was a dream until my sis commented on hearing loud footsteps at night. Much of the time in that house was a blur.
When I was a kid I owned a haunted mask. To this day I can explain it. I was 6 to 7, and I starred in a small school play where I was a giraffe. My mask was a cute headband with a cardboard giraffe's anxious face on it. Really cute, so I kept it on my shelf afterwards. That's when it started acting weird. When I was in my room, the mask would look at me. And no, I don't mean its eyes would follow me around, I mean I would turn my back on it for a second, turn back and find it had physically rotated to face me. Maybe my imagination, right? Nah. It gets worse. The bathroom was directly opposite my bedroom door, so one day I left my bedroom door open when I went to the bathroom. I turned around to close the bathroom door, and the mask had not only turned to face me, it had fallen askew, like it was leaning off my shelf to keep its eyes on me. It was around then I asked my parents to put it in the attic. It was a few years later that I went up there myself to get the Christmas tree and it was sat there, upright, on top of a box of unrelated items. Looking at me. Granted, my parents could have put it there like that, but why would they? It was a crappy cardboard mask, it should have gone in a keepsake box at least, right? I'm not sure what happened to Gerald in the end. We've moved twice since those days and he might have got lost in the shuffle. Good riddance, I say. Late at night was in bed, no lights on, heard soft humming from the kitchen. Got up and creeped to the kitchen. Humming was much clearer now, like it was to a tune of something. I knew it's not the fridge or anything. Flicked the light switch on then. Bam. Sink drying rack rattle for second and a dish fell off it and smashed on the ground but didn't see anything there. Freaked the F out. Didn't sleep that night, but never heard anything since. In an old house I used to live in, our neighbor gave us a dancing Mrs. Claus doll. Weird thing was those things never even existed. Get more on that later. Anyways, one night couldn't remember if I was dreaming or something, but the thing is pacing back and forth, stops, turns and looks at me. All I remember from them was white. That house was full of creepy occurrences, some of which I remember only to be followed by blank white. Later found out that my mom or dad destroyed it/it disappeared. Searched the web recently and couldn't find anything resembling it at all. After being 20 pages into a Google search too. I'm glad we left that house. I'm a teenager now, but this happened when I was just a kid. I decided to stay at my sister's house one night with my cousins and sister. We all had to sleep in the same room. My younger sister, cousins and I slept on the floor while my oldest sister slept on the bed. Few hours passed, everyone's asleep and I wake up to this weird feeling. I look up to my sister's bed and see a woman standing over her with a white gown on. The gown had brown stains and red marks all over and she was just staring. I froze up, then pulled the sheets over me until I fell asleep. Around 30 minutes later, I woke up in the morning to tell everyone what happened, then I turned around to tell my sister. She looked at me with a pale and terrified face, slowly shaking her head to tell me to stop. I didn't think anything of it first until I was back at my home and my mom told me the story. She said before they moved into the house there was a couple who used to live there. The woman was stabbed to death by her partner after they had an argument, then was buried in a ditch next to the house. The body was later discovered after friends reported her missing. The fact that she was just staring still gives me the chills to this day. Our car was parked and it was around 9, so it was dark and I was just getting home. I was quite young and as I walked closer to the entrance I glanced at the car and saw a shadowy figure wave at me. Car was parked at a distance BTW, so I wasn't very near it. I thought it must be Dad and he is telling me to come over cause maybe he has groceries or food or something. So I walk over kicking stones along the way, and when I come close to the car and look, there's no one inside. I ran upstairs to home and had a fever next couple of days. For the next month whenever I was late to get home I'd cross that patch, where our car was still visible, till the stairs with my eyes completely shut. In the early 2000s, maybe 2004, my mom and her boyfriend rented a house in the country. There was cornfields on two sides of the house but there were still neighbors close too. So this house was an old farmhouse and something about it just gave you any all over uneasiness if you were there alone and especially at night. At first, I was 14 to 15 years old at the time. I just thought it was because I was from a city 30 minutes away and just wasn't used to being in the country. But weird stuff started happening within months of moving in. I mainly lived with my grandparents and was only out there a few nights a week. One night I was going to bed and my room was the only room upstairs. I was laying in bed trying to fall asleep and then started to hear what sounded like someone walking on the roof. The next night same thing, laying there trying to fall asleep but I was facing the wall and hear a noise from the doorway and see what looked like man standing there. Freaked out I jumped up and ran right to the door and then downstairs and seen my mom and her BF sitting on the couch watching TV. I told my mom what happened and she swore it wasn't either of them and she said they were both sitting right there. My mom was very spiritual and believed me in what I saw. I had a friend over to this house once and we were sitting out on the little balcony that was just outside my window late one night. We were talking and out of the corners of our eye we seen some all-white figure walking almost floating in the yard and go behind a tree that was right in front of the house. We both just froze, looked at each other and tried to jump back in the window. Basically she shoved me back in because I could barely move. Again I instantly ran down and told my mom and she made her BF run out and see if it was just some creep watching us. The house was on a busier country road but at 2 a.m. there wasn't that many cars. My mom and her BF lived there for maybe 6 years and the entire time I never felt at ease there unless I was in the bathroom. We found out later that the bathroom was a recent addition to the house and that specific part of the house wasn't originally there. The entire 6 years I only spent one night alone in the house and wouldn't do it again after that. I still have nightmares occasionally about it and my mom would occasionally too up until she passed away. Even now my fiancé, who I started dating in 2005 and lived there with us for some time, who is not a huge believer in the supernatural, agrees that there was something really off about that place. One of my personal experiences is as follows. I got a dog recently and anytime I get like thoughts of self-hatred, disappointment, or just general negativity he barks at something in a certain radius. Like he's looking at a person. He get violent like jumping at it. I go to church a lot and I'm pretty religious. Recently my mom said she had a dream a witch was trying to kill me with curses or demons. So this whole thing freaked me out pretty hard, especially since I've been through stuff like this numerous times in my life. Edit. I've seen stuff like this before, so it's nothing new, just creepy how solidified it really seems sometimes. During a school camp, I woke up in the middle of the night to see an old man slowly shuffling, leaving our fenced-in from public campsite. Didn't think much of it, just had to piss so just thought he was some random old guy at the moment. 2 years later, a friend, who was a camp counselor at that time, said that the place where we slept had a gravestone of an old man. Still have no idea if I saw a ghost or a random old man leaving a closed-off campsite at probably 1-2 am. I laid down late at night, tired from work. Soon, I dozed off. At some late hour, I saw someone at the door. A gnarly-faced woman. Long, sharp teeth. I was shit scared. She jumped over me and held my body down. I couldn't move. In a violent struggle, I could muster just enough strength to hit that face. I punched those teeth. She vanished. I seemed to have woken up. I had just experienced sleep paralysis. I could feel an impact on my fingers. Yet slowly, I dozed off again once my heart stopped thumping hard. When I woke up in the morning to brush my teeth, I felt my hand hurt. Looking back in disbelief, I still can't explain these scars on my knuckles from so many years ago.
Thanks for watching. Please do like, share, comment and subscribe for more videos.